I don't know. There we go. Is we working? Sometimes when I set these streams up for several hours in advance, I go live and it just has some issues with it. So I think we're good. I think we should be good now. So play the intro again. Okay, I think we're good. How's everybody doing? How is everybody feeling? Yeah, Niners are getting back to work this week. The bye week is, done and over with. So now the Niners got to get back to business, and it's time to see if they could go on a stretch run. We got some good news today. We got a little bad news to talk about. Nothing crazy, but a little timetable and things about Arik Armstead. We'll discuss that a little bit today. And Trey Lance, there's some positive news on Trey Lance. Is he going to come back this season? No, but there's some good news on him. He took off the boot this week. And now he's standing on both feet. That's great news in his recovery. A few weeks ago he had the surgery. Now, almost 2 months later, he's on the walking boots, or he's out of the walking boots. So that's great news to hear. I like to see that Trey Lance is in good spirits and he's healthy and get him back in the recovery process. So it's going to be a long road to recovery, but I think he's a strong guy, and it's good to hear. It's good to know that he is progressing very well. So shout out to Trey Lance, man. Everybody's, hoping for the best with Trey. And it looks like, again, no more walking boot. His recovery can kind of ramp up now that he doesn't have the walking boot. So you can tell this kid's going to be out there grinding. So can't wait to see Trey Lance develop and next year, do his thing. So we'll see. Let's go. Steve-O says he was first in the building. Brendan says feeling good, really good. Raphael says hit that like button, subscribe. Yes, sir. Steve-O says that McGlinchey video was hilarious. Did you guys hear McGlinchey's press conference? Not press conference, but locker room conference. He was talking to reporters in the locker rooms, and they asked him about Derwin James. In 2018, the 49ers drafted Mike McGlinchey, number 9. A lot of people wanted Derwin James. A lot of people wanted Minkah Fitzpatrick that year, and he made a joke about it. And I don't think a lot of people are laughing about it because Mike McGlinchey hasn't been to a Pro Bowl, hasn't went to an All-Pro, number 9 pick in the draft. High expectations. He hasn't been great in pass protection. He's been a really good run blocker, but you expect more. And he's kind of a guy that Niner fans, use as a punching bag. And he made a joke about the Niners drafting Derwin James or Mike McGlinchey over Derwin James, saying a lot of people wanted Derwin instead of him. That's not lying about that. A lot of people wanted Derwin James that year. I was one of the people. I was shook they drafted McGlinchey. He was very highly rated. Quentin Nelson was the best lineman in that draft, and they wanted a lineman, but they had Trent Brown. So crazy. Again, McGlinchey's been a good run blocker, but if you're a top 10 pick, you need to have Pro Bowls and All Pros and have a huge contribution to the team. But, we'll see. We'll see how he tears it up. If he tears it up second half of the season, Mike McGlinchey has to have a very strong second half. Otherwise, I don't think he'll be back with the 49ers. That's something we could definitely talk about down the line. Juan says, how many wins do we get this next half of the season? I'm predicting they get 7 wins the second half of the season. I think the Niners are going to go down on a tear. We've talked about it. I think the Niners are going to go 7-2. We did a prediction show last week during the bye week. And I think the Niners are going to go and be an 11-6 teams. That's the prediction I had early in the season, and I still think that they're going to be an 11-6 team. I feel that the 2 top threats to their schedule are going to be the Dolphins. Miami Mike, right? Mike McDaniel's not going to want to lose that game to Kyle. I think that's going to be a tough game. Miami, we got revenge game for Raheem Mostert and Jeff Wilson Jr. And Mike McDaniel. I think that's going to be a tough game. They got Tyreek Hill and Waddle. Very quick offense. So might be a game that the Niners lose. And Seattle, they look really good. It's going to be in Seattle. The Niners always, struggle against Pete Carroll teams. And it's hard to beat a division rival, multiple times. I know the Niners usually get the Rams, but Seahawks usually get the best of the Niners. Let's hope they get a sweep. It's been many, many years since the Niners swept them. So we'll see. I think those are the two toughest opponents that the Niners have coming out of the bye week. The Chargers are going to be tough, but they are banged up. They got some receivers that are hurt. They have a lot of linemen that are hurt. Joey Bosa's hurt. J.C. Jackson's out. So I think the Chargers will be tough because they have Justin Herbert, but they are a little banged up, and that does bode well for us. So do I think the Seahawks actually stay on top? It's very possible. It is very, very possible that the Seahawks can, because again, they have a schedule where I feel like they can go out and take care of business. Not only that, they have a good coach. As much as we hate the Seahawks, Pete Carroll's a relatively great coach over the years, and he's really put this team in good position. He's drafted well. Nobody expected Seahawks to be, number one in the division right now in the NFC West. Everybody thought they were going to be the worst team in the division. At least I did. They didn't have an O-line coming in. They got rid of Russell Wilson, but Geno Smith, man, he's really coming in, proving himself. And then you have rookies that are standing out: Kobe Bryant, Tariq Woolen, and Ken Walker. Man, those guys have been stars among their other players that are already established, right? They have guys like DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett, who are really good anyways, and they're still good. So definitely going to be a battle between the Niners and Seahawks, and I think that could be the game that determines the NFC West. Now, if the 49ers lose that game and don't win the NFC West, I still think they could make the playoffs. A couple weeks ago, I wasn't too sure of that, but the NFC is just wide open. We saw the other day. We've seen the stats. We've seen the numbers. Let me put them up there. I think I have the graphic. So this right now is if the playoffs started today. If you look at the right of the graphic, you have the Cowboys and the Buccaneers would play against each other. The Eagles would get the bye. The Giants and the Seahawks would play against each other. I'd probably wouldn't mind this matchup. The Niners would be going up against the Vikings. Traditionally, the Niners do pretty well. The Niners do pretty well against the Vikings, right? Especially in the playoffs the last couple of years. So if this is how it stands, I feel pretty comfortable with this, right? They can beat the Vikings, beat the winner of the Giants or the Seahawks, I'm pretty sure, and then they'd probably go and play Philadelphia in the NFC title game. So honestly, it's not bad. So if the Niners don't win the NFC West and they can win enough games to make it to the 7th seed and get that last playoff spot, I still feel pretty comfortable going into the second half of the season. So do they need to win the NFC West? No, but I think they'd be in better position if they were to win the NFC West. If they win the NFC West, they might get to go up against the Giants and they'd get a home game, right? So that's the biggest difference. At least if we get the NFC West, you probably get a home game, and that'd be fun, right, for the Niner fans to see a home game. So definitely not going to be easy, though. This is how the NFC picture looks right now. Obviously, the NFC East has a lot of winning teams. You got the Eagles at 8-0, the Giants and the Cowboys are 6-2. With the Commanders are 4-5. They're kind of still in the hunt. And then the NFC South is just terrible. Look at this, 4-5 leads the division. Falcons, Saints are still in it at 3-6. The Niners play them. We could probably end their playoff hunt. But yeah, the Buccaneers 4-5 tied with the Falcons. And then you got the NFC North, man. The Vikings are going to run away with that division. The Packers are just absolutely down bad. The Bears have been struggling, but they're looking more promising for the future with Justin Fields. And Lions are just awful on defense, NFC West, like I said, you got the Niners and the Seahawks that could still make a run right now. I don't know about the Rams if they can turn that 3-5 around, because just don't feel like they could come through adversity. And then you have the Cardinals, who are 3-6, and I think their season's about done. I think we're going to stick a fork in them when we play them in Mexico, which is pretty much a home game for the Niners, if you really think about it, man. I think that Mexico game is going to bode well, very much so, for the 49ers. The Niners travel well, and I think most Niner fans are going to be traveling to that Mexico game in the Azteca against the Cardinals. So I think the Niners have a good setup coming into the second half of the season. So I really think that they're set up for and primed for a nice little run. They just got to stay consistent and stay healthy. Speaking of healthy, a lot of these players are coming back. Jeff Wilson Jr. was traded, but they got Elijah Mitchell coming back this week. He was a full participant in practice. You got Azeez Al-Shahir back, Kyle Juszczyk, Deebo Samuel, Jawan Jennings, Colton McKivitz. All those guys came back today. Not only that, but Jordan Willis had his practice window open today. That's really good news for the depth of this defensive line. And Jason Verrett was a limited participant, so he's getting back into shape. He's close to a return. Dre Greenlaw came back today, limited, but it's a good sign. He had the calf injury. He's back in practice today. I think the only negative really is Arik Armstead not being in practice today. We've discussed it. We talked about it. We posted about it. Arik Armstead, still has the plantar fasciitis on the right foot, and then they revealed that the left foot he's dealing with a hairline fracture. That's kind of serious to me. So that's something that they have to kind of keep in check and keep in line, and then make sure they don't over stress it, and they got to make sure that they don't rush him back too fast. But he's been dealing with that injury since week 1, and I think, like he said, he should be back soon. So I'm guessing another week or 2 for Arik Armstead, hopefully. But again, he has to have pain-free weight bearing. So that is definitely one of the tougher injuries. Armstead has been very solid for this team, run defense. He hadn't missed a regular season game for the last couple of years. 2018, 2019, 2020, 2021, he played every regular season game. So it's tough to see a guy like that who's been very consistent and very stout in the middle missing some time. You can see the big difference. When he's in the lineup, he makes a big difference for the 49ers defense. So 49ers throwback says I should go to Mexico. I want to go to that game. A lot of people want me to go to that game. I just couldn't make it out there. I got a lot of other things going on that week. But I'll be at the Chargers game this week, so it's going to be fun. I'm excited. Sunday night football. Man, can you imagine Monday night, though, in Mexico? That is going to be a vibe. It's going to be crazy. I might have to figure out a way to get to that game. Eric says, any chance we can have the best linebacker trio in the NFL this Sunday? It's very possible. Aziz should play. He says he expects to play Sunday. Obviously, Fred Warner's going to be there. It's up to Dre Greenlaw if that calf injury can get back up to speed relatively fast. He did come back today. He's limited. You don't want to rush him. Those calf strains, those soft tissue injuries, they can kind of be, they can creep up on you and become a little irritating and develop into something worse. So you don't want to rush it. But there is a chance that all 3 of them can play this weekend. We'll see how the rest of the week goes out with practice reports and stuff. But it's going to be nice when we see the best trio, a linebacking trio in the league coming back. Aziz Al-Shahir, Dre Greenlaw, and Fred Warner. I can't wait till all 3 of them are out there. It's going to be so much fun. Rain is all gone, says Rhea. Yes, the rain stopped. I think it's not going to rain this weekend, thankfully. So good to hear. I was dreading the rain. I didn't want it to rain. Brendan Murphy says Dre Greenlaw is a top 10 linebacker in the NFL. He's playing like it this season. We need him back, man. The guy's been absolutely amazing, playing like his hair's on fire. The guy, ever since he signed his contract extension, been a beast for this defense. So we need Dre Greenlaw back. Burks, yeah, I like Oren Burks. He's played very nice in replace of some of these guys. So definitely a good signing this offseason. More than a special teamer. He's, definitely a big-time part of that special teams. But if they need him and they need a guy to spot start, he's been more than serviceable. I do like Oren Burks right now. Very, very good. Brendan Murphy, hairline fracture. It's like a stress fracture, very small fracture on a bone. So it's not like a massive fracture, but it is something where a bone breaks very it's like a delicate fracture, I guess you could say. But that's what Arik Armstead had. It's a small, basically stress reaction type fracture from pressure on the surfaces around it and the bone. So that's what happened. It's very painful. You can play through it, but the more you strain it, the more you stress it, the more you put pressure in that area, the more damage you can do. You can make the fracture become even larger, and then you can have more side effects, and it's just painful, right? So imagine a lineman trying to plant and press off that foot, push off that foot. It's just painful every time he takes a step. And one of the things that you have to have in order to come back from that injury is pain-free movement. So it's a tough, nagging little injury. But yeah, hairline fractures, basically broken bone, a small broken bone. So that's what Arik Armstead's been dealing with, plus the plantar fasciitis on the right foot. So Eric Rodriguez, if JV comes back, does Jimmy Ward still play in the slot, or can you see him go back to safety? That's a good question. I think eventually they would have to put Jimmy back in safety. I think that's where he makes the most sense. But again, if Jimmy Ward or if Jason Verrett comes back, I don't think they're going to go at him like full steam. They're going to be very slow with them. They're going to maybe take their time with them. So maybe there's still going to be a rotation, and you got to really see who's Womack, if he can kind of still take that role in the slot. Diamond Lenore, there's questions they have to consider of who's their best 11 players on the field at one time, right? So you have to get the best players out on the field at every time. So I would like to see Jimmy Ward play the safety spot again. I think he's better at that spot. I think, once he's fully healthy and he doesn't have the cast on anymore, I think he would be best suited to play safety. He can jam people at the line. It's hard for him to do that without the cast or with the cast. So, yeah. Brendan says, is Kinlaw out for the season? At the moment, he's not. There's no official word saying he'll be back at any time, but there's no official word saying he's out for the season. He was placed on the injured reserve, so he's still able to come back as long as he's healthy, as long as he can come back and the knee is okay. But the problem is, he had an ACL reconstruction surgery. He's had a lot of chronic knee issues, a lot of tendonitis. That's one of those things where a big guy like that, a lot of stress, he flared up, the knee flared up, and he's doing everything he's supposed to kind of get back in shape, but he's had knee problems his whole career, and I don't know if he's going to be able to be back. They're hoping he can, but right now, there's no exact timetable for the return of Javon Kinlaw. So it's unfortunate for him, but he's had a lot of knee issues, So 49ers throwback says JV looked good. That's what I'm hearing. I saw some video of him on Twitter. I hear a lot of people saying he's looking good, So that's good to know. The biggest thing with Jason Verrett is, man, he's got to stay healthy. We know he has the talent. He's a phenomenal cornerback. If he would have stayed healthy throughout the years, he'd probably be a top 10 cornerback. One of the top cornerbacks of the last decade, honestly. So we need him back. We need him healthy, and I hope he gets back into form. Because Jason Verrett, if he's at his full potential, great player. He's going to replace Mosley very well. McGlinchey needs to go, says 49ers throwback. What do you guys think? Do you think Mike McGlinchey needs to go? Does he need to be done with it? Mike McGlinchey gone? Do we need to get rid of him? What do you think? I know he's a good run blocker. He's kind of a letdown in pass protection. What do you think? What should the Niners do at right tackle? You guys chime in. Hey, Peter Parker, what's up, my man? What's up, Phil? Faithful, feels like it's been a minute. Yeah, man, it's been a little bit of time. I've been trying to go live as much as I can, but I did stay off for a few days, But I hope everybody's doing good out there. Sad Niner fan says McGlinchey is buns. I think that's the consensus, what most people think. I don't think a lot of people like Mike McGlinchey. He's on thin ice with the Niner fans. He's got a lot to prove during the second half of the season. Kenneth says he needs someone to fix his pass protection technique. That's his biggest issue is pass protection. But if you're an offensive lineman and you're a liability in pass protection, it's just not good. It's just not good, 49ers throwback. Yep. Mike McGlinchey is bad in pass protection, but good in run block. And the Niners are a good running team. So when they do run, it's okay because you can run behind Mike and you get effective plays, and then you're going to go for big yards because he's a bulldozer in running blocking, But the problem is when he's sitting back and he has to go against a big-time premium pass rusher, they're going to blow him by, man. Just run him over like a steamroll. So it is unfortunate, and he's a top 10 pick in the draft. So you expect him to be a beast in pass protection. I'm sure he's had some good reps here and there. I've watched the film. He's had some good reps, but there's been a lot of bad reps. And those bad reps come at the worst times. And some of the penalties he makes, it's like at the worst times. All right. Put Brunskill in with Spence. Might have to be that, Sad Niner fan says, after seeing him get ran over by the Saints safety and pass protection in 2020, I was done with him. Colton McKivitz, Eric says, might be a guy that they give a shot. He played a little bit tackle. When Trent Williams was down, he did get hurt. It's tough. They do have players, but then you got to realize it's middle of the season. These guys have their grooves, so it's hard to just throw someone out there. I think they got to just let him ride out and see how he does. This is his final year under contract right now, unless they want to bring him back next year. But I think they got to see how he does. I mean, if he really fails and he's just really doing bad, then they got to figure out who they got to put out there. Maybe Brunskill, McKivitz, like you guys said. But I don't know. Is McKivitz that much of an upgrade over Mike McGlinchey? That's what you have to really think about. So it is one of those things where it's kind of a knee-jerk reaction where a lot of people are so sick and tired of McGlinchey. But is Colton McKivitz that much of an upgrade? I don't know. I don't know if McKivitz would be that much of an upgrade. I didn't really see just jaw-breaking, or eye-popping, pass protection from Colton McKivitz. Definitely he's, had to develop over the years. Jalen Moore, he's battled some injuries. He's still young and developing. I don't know if he'd be an upgrade. Dan Brunskill, maybe. He's better suited at guard, but you got Spencer Burford, who's been playing really good at guard, unless you convert him to right tackle eventually, maybe next year in the offseason. Maybe that's the guy that takes over that right tackle spot. But for now, Spencer Burford's been playing really good at right guard. So it's hard. You don't want to ruin the chemistry that they have, because they've been an above average offensive line. I know they haven't been perfect, but they've been a pretty good unit overall. So yeah, Jalen, nobody likes Jalen Moore. That's what I'm saying is you can't really upgrade Jalen Moore over McGlinchey. So it's you look at this roster and you have to really break it down and say, is any of these guys an upgrade over Mike McGlinchey? So as bad as McGlinchey might be in pass protection, he's probably a better option than most of these other guys, at right tackle on this roster right now, unless they make a big money move this offseason. So Banks and Burford, they've been balling. You're right, man. So Eric says, any chance Kalia Davis plays this year? I don't think so. He's coming off of ACL surgery. He tore his ACL. He posted a video the other day of him running, making a little bit of progress. I think that's great to see. But I think Kalia Davis is going to be a red shirt this season. He's not going to play because even if he's cleared to play, he hasn't been in training camp, no mini camp, none of that stuff. He hasn't been able to do any of that stuff, really. He's been rehabbing and coming back off the injury. So more like a Contavious Street situation where they're going to have to bring him back eventually, and I think next year he'll have mini camp, training camp, he'll have his legs under him, and he'll have the offseason to kind of train and prepare. So I don't think Kalia Davis comes back at all this season. So but that's a good question. Alfredo, any shot playing? It's a guy that's still developing on the practice squad and the international team. The international player that they added. So I still think Alfredo Gutierrez may be a ways away in terms of his development. I think he's very raw right now from what I've seen. I mean, definitely worth a shot. Maybe they can kind of get him in there and see what he has. But I don't know if he's, a guy that has had enough opportunities. He's still, very, very, very limited in his experience. He came in part of the international program, and I think he's a guy that maybe down the line will get a chance, but I haven't seen him get much opportunities. You never know. Again, next year they're definitely going to have to address this right tackle position, because if McGlinchey is not back, they're going to have to really figure out who's going to be that right tackle on that side, because again, pass protection has been an issue on that right side. And if Trey's coming back, right, you need to make sure you're protecting this kid. Let's see. So we talked about the record. We talked about playoffs. Niners potentially still making the playoffs, this offseason. I think they have a great chance. We talked about the injuries. We talked about Trey Lance. He's back in the boot, or back out of the boot, I think he's going to progress really well, and I think now he can kind of hit his rehab very hard. So those are good signs for this team. Definitely positive to see Trey Lance out of the boot. So Brendan says, can we afford Bosa and Ayuk? I think we can. I think they'll figure it out. The Niners are very methodical. They know how to pay their players. They always, have a way of making sure they get their guys paid out. Bosa, I think they're going to wait till the offseason, just like they usually do. Fred Warner, Kittle, Debo, et cetera, et cetera. I think Ayuk's going to get done as an extension because he's having a great season. He's only getting better, this season. This is a guy that's kind of taken over that wide receiver one spot. And I think these last 3 games, he's really gelling with Jimmy. The confidence is there. It's very good to see. So I think they'll figure a way out. The salary cap does go up next year. And I think with that, plus the way they restructure contracts and move money around, I'm very confident that they'll get Nick Bosa and Brandon Ayuk signed for longer deals. So this was a good question, Peter Parker. So we did mention this. We did talk about this. And since we're on the topic of Trey Lance, hey, Peter Parker says, now that he's out of the boot, There's no chance Trey comes back this year. You're the professional. Yeah, I don't think he is. I know Kyle already ruled it out. Um, Give me a second. I got someone hopping in real quick. We'll talk about this question. I'm gonna bring in my guest real quick. But so I think that what was I gonna say? So I think that Trey Lance is not going to be able to come back. He isn't going to come back just because of the fact that he just got cleared to be weight bearing, right? He's just gotten out of the boot. That's typical, right? 6 to 8 weeks is usually the time frame of a player to be able to kind of get out of that boot and be full weight bearing. So he's hitting the time frames right. He's healing well. He heals like Wolverine, really. So that's good. He's 22 years old. He's young, so he's going to heal well. The body's going to heal. But now he's still got to progress his rehab. He's still ways away. This is an injury that's going to still take more time to kind of get in there mentally and physically. And, he just got off the crutches. He just started to put weight bearing down on the legs or on the feet. So still a ways away. He's still got a couple months to go where he's going to be running and cutting and doing full football activity. So definitely not going to be able to make it to the season. I mean, and especially if they put him in, if they were to rush him, he's going to, re-aggravate something. You want to make sure that this injury is 100%, give him the off season. So definitely based on the time frame, it's not going to play in line with him coming back into the season. I think he'll be very strong and he'll be very ready after the off season to come back. But unfortunately, he won't be able to come back. But it is a good sign that he's, out of the boot and he's able to walk now. No more crutches and things like that. Definitely healing well. He's recovering as expected. The time frame, he's hitting all the time, all the, what's the word I'm looking for? He's hitting all the milestones. That's the good word. He's hitting all the milestones you need to do at the right time, right? So he had the cast on, he had the boot on, and now he doesn't have the boot, and it's all in the right time frame. But definitely not going to be able to come back in time to play this season. And I don't think that they should let him come back, because if you rush him back too fast, his chance for injury is a little bit increased. But we'll see. I'm gonna get my guest on real quick. I'm gonna play the intro, and we'll be right back. All right, here we go. Sent the link. Should be back in a few seconds. Sorry about that. Trying to get someone in. So we'll see if the guest can hop in. So we'll see what happens. Let's take a look at some of these comments that I missed. Brennan says Jimmy's playing decent. Why rush him? Yeah, there's no chance. There's no point in rushing Trey right now. Jimmy's playing okay. He's playing some good football right now. Let's see how the rest of the season goes. Peter Parker says we should have known that when he got hurt, we were in for a wild ride this year. Yeah, it's going to be a crazy season. It already has been. Definitely a wild off season. It's always crazy with the Niners, but it's how it goes, right? We're used to the craziness. So, Sad Niner fans says the most pleasant surprise this season is how Aaron Banks as well looked. He proved a lot of us wrong. Yeah, man, Aaron Banks, we've talked about him a lot lately. The guy's been the best offensive lineman. He's really stepped into that left guard role. He's taken it over and done a great job. I think he's replaced Laken Tomlinson as good as we could have wanted. So yeah, shout out to Aaron Banks. Been a very, very pleasant surprise. So let's see. There he is. There, Big Vlad, man. How the heck are you doing, man? It's been a while. How you feeling? You hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. I can hear you. It's
Okay,
all
good, good,
good.
good, good.
Um,
How you feeling, man? How you been?
yeah, everything's good. Life is good. I'm gonna have to change. I'm gonna have to change a couple things real quick on my end, sound wise. Just give me a sec, but
No
I
worries.
can hear you.
No worries.
Good dude. Bye week, relaxed a little bit. Got to watch football instead of stressing watching football.
Yeah.
So that was nice. Uh, Dude, I think this week is it's again this week is it's in their hands.
Hmm.
The Chargers were supposed to be this dynamic offense. It was supposed to be Justin Fields coming out. I think this week the Niners are going to be able to come out strong out of that bye, dude. This is a whole new season, right?
Yeah, it's the second half of the season. You put the first half behind you, and you got to go out there and win these games second half. If you can go out and be a strong team, you're going to put yourself in good position. So it's not how you start; it's how you finish, right? And we're 4-4. They still got a really good shot to make a big run. And I think you're right. The Chargers were supposed to be this really dynamic team, like you said. I think they're still good, but they've been battling injuries. I mean, they still got a winning record, but everybody expected them to be like top two team in the AFC. I think they're not as good as everybody expected to be on paper. They're still a good team because Justin Herbert. I think that's what you said. You said Justin Fields. I think you meant Justin Herbert. I mean, he's still really, really, really good, but I think we expected more, right, from Herbert. And this is a team that if the Niners can beat, I think it's going to put them on a big momentum shift, and they're going to ride this, man, because they got a lot of home games coming up. They don't have to travel too far. I really think that everything's set up for the Niners to make a long run down the stretch. So I don't know. We'll see. That's how I feel coming out of the bye. We're getting healthy. Got most of our guys coming back, this week. Pretty much everybody except Arik Armstead's coming back. So
Yeah, I was gonna say that's the biggest concern you got is Arik Armstead.
yeah.
The worry really is coming off of the bye week, the center of the defensive line, it's Arik and Kinlaw.
Mm-hmm.
That's really the worry, like long term for the defense,
I
because the rest of this their schedule isn't that difficult, right? On paper, you don't want to say anyone's easy, but the rest of the schedule, it's really not that difficult. They got a couple of tough matchups. They should be able to control their own destiny. You need the team to come back when the playoffs come, because that's what we're expecting. We're expecting a nice playoff run for this team,
yeah.
right? So Arik Armstead taking 6 weeks off here, we're hoping that he'll come back even better.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's what you're hoping for. Is it sucks to lose some of these guys right now, but if they can get healthy and strong towards that stretch run of the season, then all those early season injuries really didn't matter. As long as you make it to the playoffs and everybody's healthy for that run, then we're in good shape because we're going to need these guys in big time pressure cooker games, and you got to be physical and you got to be able to stop the run. So if Armstead's there and everybody else, Greenlaw, Aziz, and everybody, then we're set up for success. But again, if they're not if they're not healthy and Armstead comes back, like Sad Niner fan says, he goes, I worry about the defense going up against mobile club quarterbacks. They struggle to keep them in the pocket, and that's the big issue. Is if Armstead's not there, the teams can run on them, and we can't contain quarterbacks in the pocket, and they'll be able to run all over us. So we need a guy like Armstead to help Bosa out, things like that. Jordan Willis is supposed to come back, but he's definitely not Arik Armstead. So they're gonna need their big time run stuffers up the middle to help contain these quarterbacks. Because if we make a run, we're gonna have to play someone like Philadelphia or shit. Geno Smith's looked good, man. He's been pretty mobile this year. So we're gonna have to play someone with eventually a mobile quarterback at some point. So we're gonna need him for that run. But I'm not too worried about some of these other teams, like the Vikings. I know they're doing really good. I feel like we can match up and beat the Vikings. I feel like we could beat the Cowboys, the Giants. It's a good story, but I don't think that they're a powerhouse team. So I just think we got to get healthy and be consistent. But one of the things, coming into the second half of the season, a lot rides on how Kyle Shanahan is, right? Your buddy boy. How's he going to make the adjustments? Are we going to be able to stay consistent? Can the offense keep rolling now that we got CMC and Debo and everybody? How's that offense going to be? Is Kyle going to stay consistent and aggressive?
We have all the pieces coming back, so there's no need for him to not. There's no need for him to be a conservative. There's nothing left. Like, this is the season. I don't understand. I don't think people really realize. Like, I get Trey Lance is the future, but that future is murky right now. You don't know what we're expecting. The 2022 team is the team that's supposed to win the Super Bowl for the Niners. Like, there's no real excuses. There's no like, oh, we don't have a secondary, or we don't have linebackers, or we don't have a defense. We got everything. We got all the pieces. You got a quarterback that's been in the system for 5 years. Whatever you want to say about Jimmy, there's no excuses anymore. Yeah. If they can't get it done with this team, why do you think that they'll get it done with Trey Lance? Like, it's a silly thing that, like, that's why Niners fans, a lot of them, that this is the CMC trades for the future. No, it's not. It's for this year. Like, you don't know what CMC is going to do next year. You hope he's going to come back healthy. The nice thing with this contract is it's $1 million guarantee if he doesn't play a season. Pay him $1 million. Thank you. See you later. So the season is now. You're hopeful that Kyle uses these pieces the right way, and that he realizes that there's no one that needs to be overused. Yeah. There's plenty of talent to spread the ball around. There's plenty of talent on the O-line. There's no excuses. The O-line's played exceptionally. Aaron Banks, Burford, Mike McGlinchey's Mike McGlinchey. He apologized for that today. Good man. Good man. He's apologizing for John Lynch. John Lynch's due diligence. Good man.
He's a good man for that.
He's a good man for that. You can't be mad at him. But the
can't
reality
be mad at him.
is,
It wasn't. He didn't make the draft pick. He just
it's not his. He didn't say, "Hey, go trade Trent Brown and draft me at 10 overall." It's not his fault.
Oh,
so it's the same thing with Kinlaw. Kinlaw, like, people like get mad at Kinlaw. Like, he's probably a bust. It's unfortunate, but like, for where they drafted him to what it is what it is. It's not his fault. It's not like he's a bad guy or he's a bad person. It is what it is. John Lynch made an executive decision. It didn't pay off. And it's not John. I mean, it is a little bit John Lynch's fault, but it's not like total because you had Buckner. That's the only problem. Like, if you didn't, but it is what it is. You have to move on from that. It's been years.
You do, and that's the thing I said today in a comment, because, I posted the Arik Armstead update, right? We posted the update today. Because the other day it was talked about. I talked about it during the lives a couple of days ago. Jennifer Lee Chan was the first to report he had the hairline fracture. Kyle Shanahan confirmed it. A couple of weeks ago they just said, "Oh, he's got an ankle injury of the left foot plus plantar fasciitis." So you think it's a strain or sprain, whatever. Turns out he has a hairline fracture. It's a little bit more serious than we thought. And now everybody's sitting there, "Oh, they should have kept Buckner. Armstead's injury prone." Really, he hasn't actually missed any games until this year for the last 4 seasons. And I get it. Everybody loved Defoe. We shouldn't have done. At this point, dude, it's 4 years later. We got to get over it. Like, you have to get over it. Like, it sucks. But, dude, like, you still have grown men crying about You got to get over it. It's not going to change the fact that we got rid of him, dude.
I get it. Listen, it's a bummer because DeForest Buckner was basically the only bright spot on this team for like 2 or 3 years. You know what I mean? And in the playoff run in 2019, he was a big factor in that. So for sure, listen, it's a mistake they made. It's maybe the biggest mistake, just because they then the domino effect thereafter, the contract to Arik, the drafting, Kinlaw. I agree with this. Go get Sue. In my opinion.
Oh, okay.
I think listen, I get it. It's a locker room thing, but I think at November 9th, this
Mhm.
late into the season, Sue would understand what he's here for.
Okay.
He would
Okay.
come in here like a mercenary. He wouldn't come in here. He probably wouldn't even say much in the locker room. Probably just thanks for the paycheck and just play as hard as he can. And he's a
Mhm.
little dirty and he's not
He's been
perfect.
dirty.
And you know
He
what I
was
mean?
voted as the most dirtiest player in the NFL
Yeah,
several
but at the
times.
same time, you kind of need that in the playoffs.
You
You
kind of
need a
need that, though.
fresh guy that's been there, done that. It's not like you're expecting him to lead the locker room. You're
Yeah.
expecting him to come in and fill a position. And I would, in my opinion, if I'm this front office,
Mm.
I am signing Ndamukong Suh, and I'm signing OBJ on
OBJ.
1 year deals, and I'm gonna tell him, listen, you whatever I need to pay you for a year, whatever I can fill out my salary cap, however I can, I'm gonna maximize it, and I'm going all in this year. You don't know what's gonna happen next year. God forbid if Trey Lance isn't the guy, or if the development, the injury hinders his game, now you're going to be that further back. This is the year. Go all in. Go
Yeah.
all in.
You
What
know,
let the
I
chips
yeah, sorry to interrupt, but I've thought about this too, and the more you talk about it, like it makes sense, like you said, because here's the thing with Sue. So how much is he gonna want? That's the thing you got to consider. Because if he's gonna want too much, he hasn't been in football for since last year. He is gonna be 36. He's gonna be a space-eating defensive lineman, which you need. You need to help stop the run. I get it. I know he's not the best in the locker room. And last week we talked about this with some other people on my talk on the live talk with the fans, and a lot of them were opposed to it. But I like the point you just made that he's just probably gonna come in, collect his check, and go play football. At this point in his career, he's got nothing left to prove. He's been on many good teams. He's been a good player, Pro Bowler, All Pro. At this point, he wants to go and win a Super Bowl and collect a check if he comes back. So if he does want to play, maybe it isn't as big of a risk as everybody thinks. Because that's what the first thing people say is he's going to be a locker room cancer. He's going to be a dirty player. You kind of need a mean streak in the playoffs, though. You kind of need a guy that is tough and physical. That's going to go and you know
be mean?
yeah, be mean, man. You need in the Niners. They're a physical team. You need a more. You need to be a. If the Niners are the most, bullying, menacing team, now Ndamukong Suh being a bully throughout his career would kind of fit the mold and as a defensive player. And here, honestly, can we rely on Javon Kinlaw to come back this season? I don't think so. I honestly don't even think he's going to come
Nah,
back.
you
It's not a hot take. His knee has been bothering him all season after an ACL surgery, and he's had knee injuries before. I don't think Ndamukong Suh would be a bad upgrade over Kinlaw, but it has to be a 1 year rental. You can't pay him a bunch of years. You can't pay him a lot of money. And then OBJ, same thing. It has to be like a 1 or 2 year rental at most. But the problem with OBJ is I think he wants a 3 to 4 year contract because
he's
this
not
might
getting
be
that.
this is going to be his last. He knows this is probably his last contract. He needs to go bag out, get the biggest contract he can get for whatever he can do. So I think he's going to look to get a multiple year contract. But if the Niners can persuade him and say, "Hey, look, come here, we're going all in," because like you said, this team is going all in at this point. The CMC move tells you this is an all-in type move. It's a team that still thinks they can win the Super Bowl. They have the talent. You go and get CMC, and you put yourself ahead of every other team, and you prevent those teams from getting a guy like that. So I don't think it'd be a
Build
bad move.
build it into what I and this is something I haven't even seen before, but I think they can do it. Build it into his contract. Say, listen, it's a 1 year deal for the rest of the season. If you get injured this year playing for us, we'll give you $1 million next year as an
Mhm.
injury. You know, like an option,
Yeah, they got
like
to
an
do some type of
option
incentive.
year.
Yeah.
If you play well, we'll sign you to you get another year. If you
Yeah.
get injured, we'll pay you. You know what I'm saying? Cover them up. But I just feel like this season, more than any in recent memory, like this is it, boys. You're not going to get a better roster than this, period. So like, and nothing against Kinlaw. I don't hate the guy. I don't think
Same.
he's bad. It is what it is. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. Maybe he gets a year next year. I don't think so. I don't think he plays a full season in the NFL. I don't think he plays a full season for the San Francisco 49ers. Maybe in the future something different happens. I don't see it. I think they probably pick up the 5th-year option because they don't want to look bad. I would
Yeah, I
assume.
agree.
You know, I would assume, maybe not, but I think they pick up the 5th-year option and he maybe has one good season before he hits free agency. But I don't think so. I really don't. I think knee tendonitis, you know better than I do, Dr. Rosh. Knee tendonitis it's no joke.
It's not easy, man, and that's why I do feel bad for the guy, and I'm the same as you. Like, I don't hate him, and I know people like they just trash on the guy, and it's not his fault that he got drafted at that spot. It's not he didn't tell him to go trade DeForest Buckner and go bring in Kinlaw and Ayuk that offseason. Like, it sounded like a smart idea when they loaded up and were like, okay, they got 2 good draft picks. Like, obviously, Defoe was a guy that was very reliable. He was a guy that was on this team through some dark years, and we loved him because he went through all those bad years. And then we got to that 2019 Super Bowl, and he was a big part of that, like you said. But, I mean, it's not his fault. But they should have looked at the red flags. He did have a lot of knee issues, and he's a big guy with knee tendonitis. It's not easy, man, and it's a tough like grind when you're a defensive line. When you're in the trenches and you got knee problems, that definitely affects your game, man. And when I saw that report last year when he had ACL reconstructive surgery, I was like, that's tough. You have ACL surgery and you didn't tear your ACL. That's basically your salvaging. That's like a last ditch effort to go out there and say, okay, let's see if I can fix my knee, which has bothered him for a long time. It just doesn't seem like it's gonna work, man. He's got big issues with the knees. He's a big guy. I know he got in great shape and he's worked his ass off tirelessly, so I feel bad for the guy. But I've said it many times. He's like the Greg Oden of the NFL. The guy had tremendous talent, big time, potential, but he could not stay on the court because of just chronic knee injuries. He went and did the same thing. He had to, clean up. He tried to get right. He just never could see the court. And Kinlaw can't see the field. It sucks, but I think they need to have some space eaters in that D lineman. D line, they need it.
Listen, if they don't want to do it and they want to say, hey, we're gonna just see what happens with Arik Armstead, God bless you. Because once it comes, like you saw what Andy Reid did, and that's what good teams are gonna do. They're gonna space out that run. They're gonna hit the edge, and they're gonna make Nick Bosa do something that Nick Bosa is one of the best edge rushers in the NFL, but he's like 240 pounds. He's not gonna be able to stop a guard and a tackle when they're coming and a tight end when they're coming at him with the run, like Andy Reid did. That's what Andy Reid did. He put 3 or 4 dudes right straight up against them. You're not going to be able to do that. The only way you can defend it is if you have a big monster in the middle, like Arik Armstead, like DeForest Buckner, like Ndamukong Suh. You're hoping. We'll see. I think they figure it out. I think they do get the depth. It's just the playoffs. It's a flip.
Yeah, it's tough. You want to have the best players out there. You want to prepare yourself to be I don't know. It would be nice to add players. Veterans that can, be solid contributions to the team. Do I think it's going to happen? Probably not. But we got to entertain and we got to talk about it. So there's a question here from Jay. Was it Jay? Text 2 says, who do we go after? If you had to pick one, OBJ or Ndamukong Suh, who are you taking?
Suh.
To give you Suh? Yeah, defense needs help because Armstead, we don't know when he's coming back.
Kinlaw, and you don't know if when Armstead comes back, you don't know how he's going to be. Again, Armstead is massive. That dude's like 6'8", 300 and something pounds. Like,
big guy.
Your foot fractures. How many bones are in the foot, Raj?
Yeah, how many bones are in the foot? Oh man, how many bones are in the foot?
A lot, right?
I think quite a bit. Yeah,
quite a few bones. So it's like when you weigh that much, it's like it's not easy to disperse your weight against
26 bones.
That's insane.
Let's see. The foot has 33 joints, 26 bones. Wow.
You're that huge, and you're gonna have to put all that weight and disperse it. It's tough to say, hey, Arik Armstead, take 4 weeks off and then come back and play professional football from a foot. You know what I mean? So you see what it is. We'll see how it goes. In my opinion, do the best you can without him. Let him get as healthy as you can.
Yeah. Because the thing with that injury, it's a hairline fracture. So if you put more stress on that, if you put so much more pressure on it, because there's a lot of muscles, there's over 100 muscles around the area. There's like 33 joints around the area. If you put that much stress in that area, it's going to make everything else around the bones even in worse. So it's a delicate injury. It could become something where it nags and you get another stress fracture or something. So you don't want it to get worse. You got to kind of be off the foot and let it heal and be very careful. And again, it's a very, very, very delicate kind of injury. You got to be careful. And you're right. He's a big dude. Imagine the amount of pressure, when he stands and tries to plant and try to push off that foot. Imagine trying to push off all the torque he puts on the foot when he's off the line of scrimmage and has to go up against another lineman, like, putting their big ass weight on him. It's a tough injury, man.
It's not. It's like the Achilles, right? It's the Achilles story. It's like your whole thing. It's your feet. So it's tough to say. I always say, right? WOTA versus GOTA.
Yeah.
Right? How you plant your feet. I think that says a lot about athletes, but whatever. But I think they do. I think they have all of the talent in the world on offense, bro.
I agree.
Brandon Ayuk that's a wide receiver 1.
Dude,
Debo Samuel, that's a wide receiver 1.
Yeah.
I mean, I know he's
Christian McCaffrey.
Dude, that's a wide receiver 1 and a running back 1.
RB1, wide receiver 1. And that's the thing. So I agree with you. If I had to choose between them, I guess we're not pressed to get a guy like OBJ. But I don't think it would hurt because to play devil's advocate, OBJ would be better than Juwan Jennings. He's better than Ray McLeod. He's better than Danny Gray. He would be nice, but would he want to be taking a 5th option? But having a guy like OBJ, you throw him in the slot. Imagine having Debo, Ayuk, and OBJ on the same play. Like, holy crap, man, that would load it up. But again, I do agree in playoff football, you need to be able to stop the run. And if you don't have Armstead or if he's limited and you don't have Kinlaw, it's going to be hard to stop the run. I know they got players in there, Hassan Ridgeway and, Kevin Givens and Kerry Hyder. They're nice depth pieces, but they're not going to be able to be elite type players that can. If we got to play the Eagles, bottom line, it's going to be tough to stop a guy like Jalen Hurts and everybody else. So I guess you're right. Maybe Sue would be the smarter pick because I think we're pretty good in offense now that we added CMC. I think the CMC move really put us in a good position on offense. And again, you have Jimmy. Like, how many times is he going to throw the ball? I think running the ball is the key, obviously, to this offense. And now you have a stacked run game with CMC. And if Elijah Mitchell can stay healthy, bottom line, it's game over, baby.
Bro, if he can stay healthy, the amount of speed that's coming out of the backfield is absolutely insane, dude. And that, like, in a couple of weeks, they're gonna play the Dolphins. All right. The amount of speed that the Dolphins have is gross. Tariq Hill had 2 passes, the other 2 catches, and one of them was for a touchdown. He had like 70 yards.
So good,
and it's like they don't need a lot of time on the field. No. They can score points quick. So that's what the Niners need to use in their backfield. If they can put Debo, Ayuk, Mitchell, CMC all on the field effectively, the amount of speed you have, it's just Kyle's got to figure it out. It's really, listen, whatever they want to say, however they want to spin it, whatever happens, it's on Kyle. You got all the toys in the world.
Yeah.
You gotta make this work. That he has to be able to score like 28, 30 points a week.
But I think they can. I think now it's
there's no doubt they
there's
can.
no excuse. You're right.
Yeah.
There's no more excuses with what you did. You went and made the big move. You went and got Christian McCaffrey. And I think that now with Debo and McCaffrey and Kittle and Ayuk, really getting that chemistry with Jimmy and Juwan Jennings and all the weapons you have, Elijah Mitchell, like, there's no excuse not to score 28 points a week. There's no excuse anymore.
No excuse. It's not like you're trying to, but we're adding in a new wrinkle. No, you're not. Christian McCaffrey knows your system. You babysat him. Bro, you probably know. You're not like joshing anybody. Jimmy's been in the systems for 5 years. You're not installing anything new. He's not. Jimmy, I'll give him the first few weeks because he's coming off a shoulder surgery.
Yeah.
He's got to put it together. He didn't have OTAs. You give it to him. He's been throwing the ball pretty decently. You got to take – I don't give that Rams game any credit. He beats the Rams all the time, but he's 8-0. It is what
he owns them.
In total, even in the loss against the Chiefs, he was throwing some decent balls. So like he's not
horrible. His worst game, obviously, was the Broncos game. But that was his first start. You give him the benefit of the doubt. I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt because he has played better overall. I've seen him improve with his throwing. He's thrown some nice passes deep, So
he's got enough toys. He's got enough toys.
Yeah, he's got enough weapons. I see someone in the comments that says there's so many mouths to feed, and I agree. And Showboat says a bit just to add to it. OBJ is talking about settling down and living at the place he plays. I don't see OBJ long, and that's what we talked about. Yeah. That ultimately, I think the Niners would be smart to get him for like a 1, maybe 2-year deal, but I don't think OBJ would want to do that because, like you said, he wants a 3 to 4 year deal. But that's again what I said is the Niners would have to persuade him and say, "Hey, look, I know you want a multiple year, 3-year deal, but come here, win a championship, and then go do whatever you want." So the Niners would have to be like, "Hey, look, come here for a year, show everybody your back, go crazy, ball out, get your money, and then you can go settle down somewhere." So that might be what the Niners would have to, throw at him. But ultimately, I don't think it's going to happen. But you're right. Jimmy has looked better, but he has to keep it up. He has to keep it up.
Not, I was going to say I'm not going to say he's good. Like I think he's all right. I think he's, in my opinion, whatever it is, what it is, I think he's a good backup in the NFL. Yeah. You know what I mean? But like he's in this position. He's been playing better than he was at the end of last year. He looks way better than he did at the end of last year. So 100%. Like you have more weapons. It's another year in the system. I think this team can win a Super Bowl.
I think they can. I know we get upset and I know we get frustrated when they lose, but it's because they're so damn talented. Yeah. When they lose, it's a bad loss, and they just shoot themselves in the foot, man. They make too many mistakes and they're not consistent. But second half of the season, they got 9 games. If they can play consistent and limit those mistakes, they can beat anybody in the NFL. But I don't know. That's something that they haven't proved that they can do under Shanahan is stay consistent. But there are a second half team. They do very good in the second half traditionally.
8 weeks.
Kyle. Even in 2017 when we were terrible, Jimmy comes in. They made it to 5 games to end the season. Traditionally the Niners play good down the stretch. So we shall see. What do you think? There's 9 games left. How many wins did the Niners make it in the second half, Vlad?
If it's less than 10 wins, I think it's a fail. It's a fail. So
you think we should have at least 6 wins down the stretch?
At least.
Okay.
And I think realistically, like a 12-4 record is within the realm of possibility.
Okay.
11-5, sure.
11-6,
sure. Yeah. But I think like Seattle scares me because it's a Thursday night game.
Yeah.
In Seattle. That's the
scary. Yeah, it's a concern. You're right because Pete Carroll, the Seahawks, the Niners traditionally struggle against Pete Carroll and the Seahawks no matter what. And they're looking good. So it is, to me, that is the hardest game.
And so does Tom Brady.
You still scared about Tom Brady
after Tom Brady and the Miami Dolphins. Those are the 3 games: the Dolphins game, the Bucks game, and the Seahawks game Thursday night. Also, the Arizona game in Mexico, just because of the high altitude, it gets really funky. You don't know what happens in those kinds of games.
Yeah,
like I've seen in boxing, I've seen like in MMA where guys fight in Mexico City and they're just absolutely gassed because it's not the best air quality and your high altitude.
That's true. That's a good point. I didn't think of that. I think I think the Niners will probably be favored in that game, and they should. I think it's going to be another home game for the Niners because there's going to be a lot of fans cheering for the Niners. I mean, that community loves the 49ers, but there is going to be, it's not, going to be easy because you're right. There is a little different in altitude and in things like that. Playing surfaces is going to be tough. Yeah. So that's something you got to consider. I do think the Dolphins is going to be a tough game. Miami Mike, he wants to come in, prove himself. It's going to be a chess match. They got a great team right now. That'll be one of the tough games. and Seattle. We talked about that. I don't know. I don't think the Buccaneers game to me is one to be concerned about right now. I know Tom Brady, great player. He just had a great comeback against the Rams, but just the rest of that team, it just doesn't scare me. I don't think their coach is that great.
No.
I think losing Bruce Arians was big, but it is Tom Brady. You never can count the man out. The moment you do, you lose. And now he's 1-0 post divorce. So he's on a different wavelength right now. So we'll see, man. I think the Niners win about 7. I think that they'll go 11-6 overall. That was my record to start the season, so I'm not going to waver on it. But I could see them win maybe 10 also. I could see. I mean, you never know. They always are good for a game you don't expect them to lose, right? They always lose a game that you're like, how did they lose that game? So maybe 10 wins. I think Brandon Ayuk's going to be a star second half of the season. He's going to be my breakout player. I'm going to talk about guys I think that are going to really shine this second half tomorrow on the show. But I think Brandon Ayuk is going to be the guy that really comes into the second half and goes nuts.
Yeah, I think if you look at his numbers for the season, and you look at like all the like the preliminary numbers, the catch rate, all that stuff, the radius, he's one of the best.
He's so good, man. He's so good.
If nothing against Jimmy, but if he had a quarterback that could place the ball better, damn, bro, he can catch anything.
I mean, he's always open, man. You look at the film, the guy routes every cornerback. Yeah, honestly, if he played for, imagine if he played for Chargers with Herbert, if he played with Josh Allen.
If he was on the Packers, they'd be the #1 team in the NFC right now.
They had a chance to get him a couple years back.
If
Packers just dumb.
They just poorly ran. You know what I was thinking? I was thinking this earlier about them today. You know, I think the problem with them is they don't have an owner. So they don't have anyone that's like, I gotta win and make money.
That's true. They don't really have their structure, their GM, their whole structure of that team, how it's ran, is just poorly ran. Like, why would you draft a quarterback a couple years back in the first round when you have Aaron freaking Rodgers? Like, what was that all about? That was Jordan Love was the worst draft pick of all time, I think, in Packers history. That was bad. And every year they just draft stupid picks. Like, this year they were screaming. They needed a wide receiver. Devontae's out. Go get yourself a premium receiver. And they just really botched it, man. I think they botched it.
They were like, oh, we'll get some guys late that we really like. It's like, no, dude.
No, you need to get a premium guy.
Yeah, get a premium guy and get those guys
because they can still be nice, but go get a premium guy. Because now you got Aaron Rodgers throwing to guys that are like plumbers, dude. It's ridiculous.
And they had to go out and spend a second-round pick on Christian Watson, who he's not. He's all right. He's just good. A big fast guy. He's a big fast guy.
He looked. You know what? You know what? Looking back at the draft season, and I liked Christian. I thought he would be nice because I think he could have paired well with Trey, and they have that good chemistry and stuff. But the problem is, he had a phenomenal combine, right? And what do we say about those he was a combine warrior, so everybody saw him and they were like, "Oh man, this is going to be the next stud in the NFL," because he had a huge combine. A lot of times, you have a great combine, it doesn't always relate to success. Translate. I think he would have been good for the Niners, and that's what I wanted because him and Trey Lance already had that chemistry, so it would have been nice if him and Trey would have been able to play. That was my reasoning on say, okay, I like Christian Watson for the Niners. But, yeah, to be a round 2 pick, I think that combine overvalued him, honestly. Looking back at it now, obviously hindsight, but there was a lot better receivers in this draft that they could have gotten.
Yeah.
And they could have still got Christian Watson, but they could have got, like you said, one of the Garrett Wilson on the Jets. Oh, man, he's great.
Beast.
He's a beast, dude.
But it's the thing. I don't know. Watson's nice. I think he doesn't. He has a lot of development. And
he's very raw.
He's very raw.
He's very raw. And
I don't think
with Aaron Rodgers,
he doesn't
want to sit there and develop those guys right now. He's past that point in his career.
I think he low key regrets signing that deal.
I think so.
I think he regrets it. I think if hindsight's 2020, he goes to Denver. I think that's what happens. I think
he should have taken the Denver deal over Russell Wilson, huh?
Yeah.
I think Seattle's so happy they didn't keep him.
Pete Carroll's a genius.
Pete Carroll, man. Shout out to Pete.
Oh
Pete the
my
Chief.
God. Oldest coach in the NFL, flips roster over every few years. Everyone tells him he's crazy. Low key, you see the shade he threw at Russ?
Yeah, you see that today with I think I sent you guys that text. What did he say? He says, I like that Gino likes to use the wristband and sometimes, something about the wristband, right?
Yeah, he said that
Mm-mm.
Russ, well, he didn't say exactly that Russ didn't use it, but basically he was like, Gino uses the wristband and that's something that we didn't have in the past.
Oh, yeah, that's what he said.
Oh, it's like basically like we didn't. And listen, Russ has his own problems. He's paid, baby. That dude's got
He's
$200
getting paid
million.
$250 million in the bank. He don't
Oh
care.
my
Yeah, this is the quote. The Pete Carroll on Geno Smith's success in Seattle. He goes, if you notice, Geno's going off the wristband, and that's a big help. There was resistance to that, so we didn't do that before. Resistance to that before, meaning Russell Wilson wanted to stick with the wristband and go with those plays that he knew. Where Geno, he'll go off script and say, hey, look, I'm just going to go and create and do my own thing. And then Russell Wilson was asked, and he says he won a lot. He goes, we won a lot of games without a wristband on the wrist too. So, low key throwing shade. And there's a lot of players that have come out lately, and a lot of former players throwing a lot of shade at Russell Wilson. So
yeah.
maybe they did want to get rid of him for a long time, and I think Pete finally said, "Screw it, man. Get you out of here. Let's take as much as we can get for you, man." Crazy.
Them and obviously the Miami Dolphins, because they did a really good job, and the Eagles, they did fantastic with their trades.
Yeah, they
Absolutely
did.
fantastic.
They did great.
To be
And
as competitive and then still have early first rounders.
yeah, they did great. Yeah, the Dolphins, they took the draft picks from the Niners. They turned it into Waddle, Tyreek Hill, and Bradley Chubb. That's insane, dude. 3 crazy players. Speaking of another team that really stepped up and has played phenomenal this year with their draft picks, the Jets, man. Remember the Niners almost traded Debo there was rumors. That was one of the teams that they were going to trade Debo to, and they said no. And they had a ton of draft picks, and their draft haul, it might be one of the best draft hauls of all time. Brees Hall, unfortunately, he got hurt, but he was having a great season.
Fantastic.
And then you have receiver Wilson, which we were talking about, and then Sauce Gardner.
Fantastic.
Holy moly!
Fantastic. And I think the Niners would have taken that trade if the Jets said yes, but the Jets said no.
The Jets said no. They were.
Yeah, the Niners
now they look
wanted
smart.
of course. Because listen, all due respect to Debo Samuels, who would you rather have, Sauce Gardner and Wilson or Debo?
I would take the trio, man. They took Sauce and Wilson. I love Debo, but man, those are 2 young and especially Sauce. This guy he's already a top 10 cornerback in a rookie season. This guy's playing phenomenal.
Him and Patrick Surtain are the 2 best young corners I've seen since Jalen Ramsey.
Crazy. But you look back at the draft and the reasoning was, would anybody they draft be immediate impact or better than a Debo, right? That was the argument was, if you draft anybody, would they be better than what Debo Samuel could be for the Niners? And you can make the argument that no, because I guess you can't really project these guys because you can't project them being as good as they are. But holy crap, man. These guys look like generational players, especially Sauce. Like, especially Sauce. Garrett Wilson, I don't know if he's better than Debo. Obviously, right off the bat. He's a good receiver, but it would help you lessen the blow of losing Debo. But holy man, Sauce Gardner, Jesus.
Sauce Gardner. I mean, you don't know, right? Like you said, you can't predict. You don't know before it happens. But if you're saying your vision's 2020, you can,
Oh yeah, my vision's 2020.
It's not
a lot of.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? If you can do everything and you know what's going to happen, you of course Garrett Wilson and Sauce Gardner are better than Debo. Debo, with all due respect to Debo, he had like a 50 or something 15, something like that drop rate. He had a pretty high drop rate last year. It got higher this year. So not only is he not as efficient out of the backfield, he's also dropping more passes. Nothing again. He's still a great player. He's a generational talent. Give him the ball. Good luck. But I'm just saying,
he has had some issues with drops. And actually, speaking of Debo, I did want to talk about him. That's a guy that really has to step up second half of the season. They're paying him a lot of money. I don't think he's played to the potential we expected him to play. I mean, obviously, he's, I I think teams have keyed in on him. They focus in on him. They've tried to eliminate him, but I think Debo is going to have a big second half for the Niners if they really want to dominate teams, because I think he's still a key to this offense. I know they brought in CMC and Ayuk's, developing really nicely. Debo's still a big part of this offense, and I think he has to have a massive second half of the season. He's one of the keys for the Niners to have success. To me, in my eyes, this offense still is ran behind Debo, and I think he has to have a monster second half for this team. If they want to win a Super Bowl, Debo has to be what Debo was last year.
Absolutely.
That's why I think, yeah.
No, he has to be a lot closer to what he was last year than he is this year. Because the reality is, like we judge them week to week, and we get a little critical of them for sure.
Yeah.
I think a lot of fans are like, hey, we look good because we beat the Rams by 15 points. We traded for CMC. We beat the Rams by 17 points. We beat the Rams in the beginning of the season by 15. So CMC is 2 more points against the Rams. So for absolutely,
well, without Debo,
yeah. Okay, so still 2 more points, switch. So now you're hoping Debo back. That's like a touchdown.
Yeah, at least 7 more points a game.
At least 7 more points a game. So in the bye week couldn't have come at a better time.
I agree.
I get it that some of the players are still going to be injured. You're still going to have time for all that. But the bye week couldn't have come at a better time. Everyone should be on the same page now. Get it flowing and kick the tires, light the fires, dude. It's let's go. Let's start reeling off some wins. If they lose games, it better be 28-32. You know what I mean? It better be some crazy stuff happening.
You cannot start. The Niners can't lose games the second half of the season because there's no more excuses. They've got healthy. They're getting players back, right? Debo's there, CMC, everything's primed in position for a run. They had their time to rest. The schedule is pretty favorable. Obviously, there's no easy games, like you said earlier, but it is pretty favorable. They don't travel a lot. This is a team where if they do lose, it better not be like that Broncos loss. It can't be like the Falcons loss, and it definitely can't be like that Chicago loss. Those were games where they shot themselves in the foot, right? And then I think by the time we played the Chiefs, we were too banged up, and we just didn't. At that point, our team was just not as good as them at that point. That bottom line, the Chiefs were just a better team right there at that point of the season. But if we get to play them later down the line, we could be even better, stronger, faster. You know what I mean? So this is the point where the Niners have to, if they want to go on a run, they got to start being dominating. And I think they got to impose their will, be very strong, be consistent. We know that, but they have to go out there and just show, hey, look, we're not just going to win games. We're going to come out there and be a dominating team, because everybody right now in the NFC is talking about the Eagles, they look good. The Eagles, because when the Eagles win most of their games, it's like, oh, they look great, and they just leave.
They haven't faced anybody.
I know they haven't faced anybody, but they're still winning those games they should win by dominating fashion. The Niners are not winning games they should win by dominating fashion. So even though the Eagles had an easy schedule, they're going out there and they're making it look easy. Regardless, they're taking care of business. And the Niners, they have to take care of business, or nobody's going to give them the respect. I think if the playoffs come, it's a different story, because they'll be physical, and I think we match up against everybody. But the Niners have to go out there and handle business and win the games that are easy and make it look easy.
Because not for nothing, that's how you get better in any sport, in any competition sport. The way you get better is by beating the guys that aren't as good as you. Mm-hmm. So you can work on things. You know what I mean? So your offensive line can get better, because they're not going to get pressure on you. So you can do some. So the reality is, reps are going to make you better. Reps, you know what I mean? And the Eagles are getting really, really good reps consistently. So
no, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say they're getting really good reps consistently. They have a lot of talent, and they have the things that are historically difficult for the Niners: a mobile quarterback, a fast receiver, and a defense that can stop the run. Those are 3 things that the Niners.
Those are their kryptonites, right? And Showboat says Chiefs practice by running up the scoring team, and that's true. Like,
Absolutely.
I get it. Like, yeah, you can say, oh, it's whatever, they're running up this team on garbage time, but those reps, they get you a little bit better. They give you more time to develop, and not only that, it builds chemistry, it builds confidence. Teams like that, it's like when they start whooping up on a good team, man, they feel so good about themselves. They're hyped up. Winning, it doesn't matter if you beat a garbage team or a good team. Winning is winning, and you feel good about yourself. Obviously, if you beat a good team, you're like really feeling good about yourself. But man, you go out there and if you expect to win a game against someone, and then you go out there and you crush them, oh man, you feel so good. You're like, yeah, we knew we were gonna beat them, and we kicked their butts, man. And that just makes you feel better. So when you go out there and you play a team that you think you should beat, and they whoop you, or you barely beat them, you're like, oh man, we need to get better, man. So bottom line, the Niners have a lot of winnable games on paper. They need to go out there and win them, and win them in like strong fashion. Again, I get it. A win's a win. Doesn't matter if we win, we're going to be happy. But I want to see the Niners come out in the second half and just dominate teams. I want them to be aggressive. Good. Yeah, I want them to look good the second half. And I think they can, because they're getting healthy. And I feel that bye week came at the right time, and I feel they're going to be very confident. But again, they cannot shoot themselves in the foot. That's the biggest takeaway.
Yeah. And this Chargers team is like, this is a team that you can get your shit together on. Like, this is a team that they're not that good.
They've been inconsistent this year. Yeah. I think they're good, though. I don't want to take them lightly.
They're worse. He's worse than Kyle. They're poorly coached.
Their coach is bad. But I don't want to take them lightly, Vlad, because the biggest X factor with the Chargers, they got a great young quarterback, man. Justin Herbert. He's got that dog in him. He's good. I'm not going to take him lightly, because when we take these teams lightly, man, that's when the Niners lose.
Yeah,
and I know they're inconsistent, but they still got Austin Eckler.
Yeah.
You saw him last week. He's great. Justin Herbert, man, Herbo is great.
Yeah, he can make anyone look
They got some good players still, but they are banged up. We want to talk about teams that have injuries. Look at the Chargers, man. They are banged up, but they still have a very talented quarterback, and he makes up for a lot of their deficiencies. And that is an elite quarterback right there. If you want to talk about elite quarterback, man, like, they're banged up and they're still winning games. So, but I think it's a very game that we should win.
We should. Yeah. Like, they're not scary anywhere where our defense can't match up against them. And there's no way they're going to be. There's no freaking way that if the Chargers defense stops this Niners offense, if they hold them to like 21 points or less, forget it. Then let's just forget it and just enjoy the season. Whatever happens, I don't even care. If no joke, if they can't score over, they don't have J.C. Jackson. Their whole D line's banged up.
Yeah,
it's not.
But they do have Khalil Mack.
Yeah,
and he's gonna have to go up against Mike McGlinchey.
Yeah, double team him.
Yeah.
Put a chip block on him. Kittle will be there.
Yeah,
it's not the end of the world. He's not the best. You know what I mean? They should be able to do it. I get it. Maybe he'll get a sack, but like 60 minutes, you should be able to take care of business against this team. They were only able to score like 23 points against the Falcons. And I get it, the Falcons beat, but still, like the Niners should be able to do this coming off a bye week.
Yeah, I agree. The biggest thing is the Niners are healthy off a bye. There's a lot of hype, a lot of expectation. They should be able to come off the bye and win. They should be. Now, Sunday night after the game, if they don't, we're going to be a little upset. I agree.
I feel like if they can't win this game after a bye week, getting 2 weeks to prepare for a team that's this banged up, that's this poorly coached.
It's going to be an ugly Monday. I get it. But the season won't be over yet.
It's not over.
Still wide open. But it would be a bad loss. I get
awful.
It would be a bad loss.
It'd be worse than the Falcons' loss.
Yeah, it would probably be the worst loss. 2 weeks to prepare for a banged up team. We'll see. I hope we're talking about a win next week.
Yeah.
Any other final thoughts, my man?
No, dude. I appreciate you always for having me on.
It's always good to have you on, man. I haven't seen you in a minute. I wanted to get you guys on here. So.
Dude, I got less than 20 days here.
That's right. You're moving to Miami.
Yeah, South Florida. Yeah.
Oh, good stuff, man.
Yeah. Well, you'll see the documentation of it over these next couple of weeks.
Yeah, we'll have to talk about it. I know you'll be texting and stuff. So good stuff, man. Well, enjoy your last few days in the the East Coast up there, and then you're gonna be a Southern boy. Yeah, happy travels. Be safe on your
Yes,
travels,
yes,
man.
sir. Yes, sir. We'll
Yeah,
talk. We'll talk.
I like what Tommy says. I think this is basically the theme of what we're saying is you can't come out flat. Right there. That's a good summary of what we just said. Yeah.
Can't
Miami
come
Vice
out flat.
flag. I like it.
Let's go.
You got
Let's
to come
go.
on one day with a white suit like Miami Vice, man. You got
Linen.
Can you do it? I'll
I
wear one
could.
too. We'll do like a Miami Vice
I could do it
episode.
with
Let's
like a
do it,
pink,
man.
like a pink.
Yeah, pink one. I'll
Yeah,
wear like a teal,
yeah.
white.
Yes.
Be
That'd
fresh.
be nice.
That'd be
That'd be
nice. Like
nice.
GTA vibes.
Yes.
Yeah, let's do it, man. That'd be
All
dope.
right. We'll text
Let
it.
me
We'll
know.
figure it out.
Let's go, man. All right, man. Enjoy your rest of your week. I hope we get a dub on Sunday. I'll be at the game, man.
Oh,
So-
let's go. All right, then we'll
Yeah.
definitely talk. All right, we'll talk.
Yeah. All right, man.
Have a good night.
Yes, sir. Swaggy says a white suit with cigar and shades. That's the vibe, man. We got to get that Miami Vice vibe going. So appreciate you guys for tuning in. That's the show tonight. I'm glad to see Vlad, man. It's good to see him. I haven't talked to him in a minute. So I'm glad he's doing well. He's going to be Miami Vice Vlad soon. Miami Vlad, right? With Miami Mike. Let's hope he doesn't turn into a Dolphins fan. But yeah, hope you guys had a good, enjoyed the show tonight. I hope you guys have a good rest of your week. We'll talk to you tomorrow. You know the vibes. Hit that like button. Make sure you subscribe. Appreciate you. I'm going to go make some dinner. I'm hungry. My daughter's probably going to kick my butt if I don't make dinner. So appreciate you, David. Appreciate you, Debbie. Appreciate everybody. Hey, we got a real quick. Thank you. There's going to be a giveaway, I think, on Instagram in the next day or two. I'm going to probably put it tomorrow. Just haven't had time yet to put it. It's going to be a CMC shirt giveaway. Here's the shirt. This is one of the shirts. So Official Warriors World. I don't know if you guys know their page, but the Official Warriors World on Instagram. They're on Twitter as well. We're going to be giving away 5 shirts. Christian McCaffrey CMC shirts. Stay tuned. I'll probably post it tomorrow. Stay tuned for the details. The giveaway will be Sunday. We'll finish it up. So make sure you check it out on Instagram. I'll probably post it tomorrow and all the details. This is probably going to be one of those. Make sure you follow me. Make sure you follow them. Blah, 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 blah. So we'll have the details tomorrow. And yeah, 5 lucky winners will get a CMC shirt. So we'll see. Appreciate you. Hit the like button. Tell your friends to subscribe. Tell your enemies to subscribe. I love you. Have a good night. Thank you, Vlad, for hopping on.